Hey, what's up, guys? Chris Fluck here. Chris Fluck Podcast, episode 20. Today we got a special guest, Megan O'Brien Duerring. How you doing? Good. Did I get that correct?
You did.
So we just talked for like 45 minutes about all kinds of crazy random shit. So I kind of want to start with some of the stuff that we talked about. So we last week I think we were going to record, and basically Tuesday of last week we ended up having to take my daughter to the hospital. We were there for 5 days, so from Tuesday to Saturday, all this stuff was going on, like different kinds of infusions, scopes, blood work, left and right, and just trying to figure out what's going on with her. We had these appointments spread out over like 5 or 6 weeks. Our general practitioner, our doctor, was like, you know what, just take her to the hospital now. You're going to be able to get all this stuff done in 5 days, whatever. So all of this stuff, I mean, like, you don't really think about too much before you have a child, and when you decide to have one, and then you do, and you just kind of hope for the best always, but then sometimes craziness happens. So
lots of stuff.
I mean, I don't know, how's everything going with your little girl?
She's good now, but some of the same stuff when she was little, and it throws you for a loop. You think you have a plan, and then you have to readjust your plan, and then readjust your plan, and then readjust your plan, and then readjust your plan.
I know, and nobody really knows. I mean, you could probably share with people if you wanted to, but there's like a certain point where, like, if I didn't tell anybody in the gym here, and I come in the morning and I'm like totally pissed and upset, or we didn't sleep at all, like, it's hard. I guess just I was just listening to this guy, and he was just talking about human beings are like incredible people, where like you could go and meet somebody and they could tell you that, like, you know, their father just died, their mother has terminal cancer, and like their son is sick, and like, but yet that person still goes to work every day and they still figure things out. So like humans are pretty impressive in that regard when life does throw you some crappy stuff. But anyway, you're talking about gymnastics for your girl. How old is she?
5.5.
5.5. So some people, they want to know, like, what do you do? You grew up, you were pretty active, right? Forever?
Very active.
So you probably wanted your daughter, you know, being involved in stuff, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
You stumbled in it? All right, go ahead.
Let me tell you,
Yeah.
the main motivation was because she had more energy than I knew what to do with. I couldn't contain it. She doesn't need food or sleep. And so I needed to find something to figure that out.
What did you try?
Well, automatically right off the bat, I put her in gymnastics because she was so little. And so that was pretty much the first structured thing you can really throw your kid in that you know, could probably take up the most energy, that and swimming. So I have her in those two things.
Of course, you're still doing them?
Yes.
Gymnastics is pretty cool. Like, we were talking before we were recording, I have some... well, honestly, it's like a wide range of people. Some still involved at like a 10-year-old, like, if you could see this rope in the background, like hammers 20 of those in like 30 minutes. Another one, one of them is like, they just seem to be, so like they've trained for like, this girl's like, say 14, she's been training for like 10 years. And she kind of gets it. As a 14-year-old, she gets it. So like when you talk to them about stuff, they're like, oh, all right, and like, kind of figure it out, which I think is pretty cool.
It is cool.
The downside, though, potentially, that you do hear some bad stuff with gymnastics, too. So there's always, you know, the one younger girl that comes in, you know, their family's navigating how much is too much. How often do we do it? So do you have any plans for that with your little one? Yeah,
you know, that's tough because it all comes into personality types, too. Because, you know, you can get carried away in any sport, really, because, you know, if you talk about my world, the running world, which is a really awesome girls on the run, you know, empowering sport, which is awesome and lovely to get involved in. When you take that too far, that's also, it could be a personality thing where it's like you put a lot of pressure on yourself too. So finding that balance is extremely difficult in any sport, I think, that you put your child into, really. And I think a lot of it comes down to a good coach too. A good coach combined with personality. And you mentioned on one of your other, it was either a post or a podcast, you take a look at your genes and you take a look at your the
environment kind of thing.
The environment, right? Those combinations, like that's an important, you really have to find a good combination, a balance, and how to nurture that.
So I made a huge mistake here, and I didn't even really introduce you too much.
Thanks God.
So you talked about your world of running. I just gave your name. I mean, we were just talking about it. I know you probably don't care for me to say this, but course record holder for females, Quadzilla. Which is what? Give us a quick rundown.
It's a trail race right around here. So that's probably like that's an interesting one for me because that's really
straight up incline.
Straight up, and that's
how
really
far?
Way outside of my zone. So I'm really like a marathon runner.
Yeah.
So
you've won a couple of those.
I have won a couple
and half marathons you've won as well, right?
Yeah. So that's really more my world is marathon running. Quadzilla was like this, hey, I'm going to check this thing out. Not totally a part of my world, but pretty invigorating.
How far of an incline? Like,
again, outside of my world, I don't know what the elevation. So it's at the
is it like a 10-minute race or is it like
15K? So it's at the Lehigh Valley
15K
Zoo, like that area, the Trexler Game Preserve.
Yeah.
So it's a really rocky terrain, and it's a very, what's the word for it? Treacherous, I would call it. The Lehigh Valley Trail Posse would probably call it like really cool trail race. I call it intimidating yet extremely challenging and also like pretty cool.
And it's what time of year, right? July, you said?
July 29th this year is the race.
So how many years have you done it?
I ran the race twice. I volunteered every other year. This year I won't be going at all.
We can get into that.
A tear situation going on.
Yeah. Potential tear situation.
Right.
So we're going to come to the injury thing then, but Quadzilla sounds pretty cool. I mean, it sounds obviously a pretty good challenge. The flat course races and stuff that you've done, but like, I don't know if I remember this correctly. Did you do that climb, the 9/11 one, like back in the day?
No, I wanted to actually.
Right.
Yeah. So it's the Empire State
right.
climb. Yeah, I tried to get into that because there were suggestions that I could win because I used to live on the stairs, the rotating stairs at LA Fitness where we met.
Yep.
I like to say that I would have put up a good fight for the win. You have to enter a lotto to get into that race, and unfortunately, I did not get into the lotto to get into that race. So unfortunately, I didn't get to compete there.
Trying to get some more unique style races. You do anything else? I mean, to get the Quadzilla sounds somewhat.
Kind of it. I'm pretty simple. But I need to venture out because I've realized that sort of the pounding on the roads. Finally, it's like really catching up to me. It's catching up to me. So I want to kind of like start spanning out finally in my long span career of road racing. I need to just sort of look into other competitive avenues, I guess. Yeah.
It's going to be tough.
It's going to be very
tough to find.
It is.
So you have to fill the competition. So, I mean, even growing up, running, competing, all that. Since like
9.
As long as you can remember. All right.
My first state champion, I guess, I became a state champion for the first time ever when I was 9. I won the mile, and it was like the first time that.
Who's tracking the state champs back then?
Yeah, so my dad was a track coach for our township, and our township, I grew up in New Jersey, and it was like one of those townships where you had like 500 kids in the in track.
Yeah.
So it was, I attempted to be a long jumper, who never really made it into the pit as a long jumper, but that's what I wanted to do. And so since I was my dad's daughter and he was the coach, he said, we have got nobody to run the mile in the state championship. And I was hiding under the bleachers and he made me line up. And I had to run the mile and I won. And there began my career. So. What,
do you know your time back?
5:55.
As a 9-year-old? I just did, what was the challenge? Jesus, that's so embarrassing.
I know.
I have to look, but literally like 2 months ago, it was like, I found like 7 challenges, and I don't think if it was a 7-minute mile, like I think I had to break 7 minutes, and that sucked.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, even more impressive to me, because
high school kids
I could run a 5:55 now, but what I could not do now, I ran a 65 quarter when I was 10 years old.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Like I could never do that now. So I look back at myself and I'm like, man, I had some speed back then. I don't really have so much speed. The fast twitch.
How tall were you
not
though?
There.
Like as a 10-year-old, like I feel like you need a little bit of height to get.
I don't know, man.
To get
I was
through that 65.
Just a lanky kid, that just, what I think I had no fear. I just lined up and I just went. Now, some of the fear sets in and it's like, you know what pain feels like, so you try to avoid it. I do best when I don't. So a lot of times, people want to go preview a course. They want to check it out. They want to see what the course looks like. You go to a race, you take a course preview. I want nothing to do with that because if I know what's ahead of me, I work myself up a little bit. And so I do best when I have no idea what's ahead of me. And so I don't build that anxiety. I don't build that expectation. So when I line up for something that I have no idea what's in front of me, that's when I do best, to be honest.
So just to kind of switch, not really switching gears too much, but what do you do for work?
So I'm a school counselor and a therapist.
So working with people's brains there, but then when you think about yourself.
Oh, I make no sense. Don't even get into it.
No, I always feel like the people that like, I don't know. It's definitely not 100% of the people. But anyway, I just feel like people that kind of work in that field, they have their own issues that
for sure.
they struggle with too. And you're like, well,
Yes.
you're like, this is what you do. Shouldn't you be able to not have anxiety and stuff?
Yeah, it's hard.
You do.
It's really hard. Well, that's why I got into doing what I do, is because, I did have some struggles growing up within my own family. And, back then, everyone says to you, oh, I didn't even know my guidance counselor's name. Or, I don't even know, did you even know you had a school counselor? And I pretty much didn't know what my resources were. And not only that, but it was sort of taboo when we were younger. You know what I mean?
What age school, or like what are the kids that you work at?
I'm at a middle school now.
Right.
It still is hard for some kids to admit, I need help, because there is still a little bit of a stigma attached to that, as well for some adults to even admit, hey, I might need some help. And so it makes it really difficult. And so, I like to sort of pose it in a different way. It's not so much admitting, listen, I have a mental health diagnosis. It's more just sort of saying, hey, I can relate to you. Can you relate to me? Because I feel sort of similar as you. And so when you put it in relatable terms to the kids and even to adults, you start a conversation that sparks an understanding that makes people want to talk to you. And so that's how I like to phrase it, especially to my kids, because then they come through the door. And that opens, a whole new conversation. And a lot of times you just find out some things from the kids. And, a lot of people say, well, what do kids in middle school have to worry about? Let me tell you something. You would be so surprised. These kids,
I just work with kids, so I think that's the only way that I hear it. But if I didn't work with middle school age kids, I probably wouldn't have a clue.
Right.
So I think majority of the people probably like, wait, what? That goes on? Nothing.
And I find that to be a shame, because I think it's like, even to make that statement automatically assumes that they have no problems and they have no worries. And that's the reason why kids have worries and problems, is because people think that they shouldn't.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps kids from coming to people, period.
To adults and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought, I've done that, it's just really making a connection, so you just got to figure out a way to get them comfortable. So being like we talked about coaching and stuff being super important for your daughter, when you look at stuff, I think that matters in the sense that there shouldn't be some disconnect, in the sense just do what I say because I said so type thing, where it should be, I'm going to try to work with you on this, and you explain it in a way where they're cool, and do you have some sort of connection? I don't know.
I know. And it's a hard balance, because you want, as a coach, you want respect. But as a coach, that respect shouldn't come out of total fear. Yeah. And that's really hard for some people to understand. It's hard. How do you motivate a kid to be determined without fearing you and respecting you, and getting that kid to be tough but not scared?
Well, the definition of tough is probably messed up too, in the sense kids think what being tough is pushing through, doing this and that, and yelling, "Hey, let's go!" to your teammates and stuff. But that's not really it.
Not all the time at all. Yeah, sometimes tough is admitting, this is really difficult, but I need help. Yeah.
So, how long have you been doing the counseling?
Let's see, since 14 years.
All right, but you weren't always with middle school kids, or you were? I was not always with middle school kids.
I have ranged from middle school to adult. So, and I currently do. So right now I'm with middle school, but I'm also I'm a counselor in New Jersey. Yeah. So I'm a licensed school counselor in Jersey, and I'm a licensed therapist in Pennsylvania, because I live in Easton, so I'm right on the border. So I can work
Is that
with...
legal that you could work in Jersey, isn't there?
You actually... I'm glad you bring it up. Yes, government of New Jersey. I did go before the state of New Jersey, and I did apply to have a waiver to live in PA and work in New Jersey. So I am legal.
All right, cool. I thought there was some sort of weird...
There is. You are right.
All right.
And I applied. I won.
Just like nobody wants to live in Jersey for some reason.
Because it's way too expensive. That's why I live in Pennsylvania. Yeah, it's because... But yeah.
Anyway,
yeah,
sorry about that.
No, all good, all good.
So then my question
Keep me
does
honest,
apply.
man. I like it.
I didn't know if like if you I didn't know if you worked with a younger population ever. So 14 years ago to like now,
I've
the
gone
game has changed.
up and down. I would say so. I would
Like
say the
big
game
time
has
or no?
changed. I wouldn't say big time. I would say that the issues are all. I would say that social media has changed
Yeah, I was
a lot.
gonna bring that up then. So
yeah.
cool.
I would
What's up
say
with that?
that definitely has changed the dynamic tremendously. However, a lot of the issues really come back to the core of the matter, and that is really just sort of like what's inside of you. What is like what makes you tick, and what gives you your confidence? What makes you feel self-confident? How can you be comfortable with yourself? Because you see that even without the social media, you see kids when they get together make the comparison with each other. Like, I want what she has, I want what he has. Why don't I look like that? Why don't I look like that? Why can't I do that? Why can't I do that? And it's like we have to help our kids feel more comfortable and confident with what they do have, and that's on us, man. You know what I mean? Like, that's on us as parents, that's on us as counselors, coaches, teachers, whatever we are, adults, just adults, you know?
But I feel like the adults probably struggle with the same thing
Oh,
too.
heck yeah.
So it's like everybody wants the opposite,
For sure. Because you know what? Like, a lot of times, like, here's what I notice. I notice a lot of times too, like, adults will be like, oh, it'll get better when you leave middle school. No, it doesn't. It doesn't get any better. It just changes. It doesn't get better in high school. Oh, it gets better in college. No, it doesn't. It just changes.
Yeah.
There's always somebody out to get you. Always. Somebody sees a happy Chris, they're like, oh, he looks like he's buff, he's cool, he looks like he built his business, he's pretty, he looks like he has himself together, he's got it going on. I'm going to go after him and take him down because I don't like happy people because I'm not happy, so I'm going to go after him. And then you see people try to bring you down because that's just the way unhappy people operate. So whether this was you 10 years ago or 10 years in your future, there's always going to be someone coming after you. So you have to work on yourself to get ready for somebody to come after you. And that's what these kids do, So it's in middle school, it's in high school, it's in college, it's after college. And I like to work with the kids and give them the tools of the bullies that are coming after the kids. We use the term bully because bullying is, everyone is bullied now. And don't get me wrong, there are legit cases of bullying. However, not every case is bullying. So I just want to make sure that that's a very clear thing, but everyone refers to every case as bullying. But there are peer conflicts.
I just did this camp last week, and this kid's like 10, and I'm like, all right, he's going to attempt to do this. He's like, what do you mean attempt? He's like, you're bullying me. And I was like, wait, I was like, no, I said you're going to attempt to do something.
They all call it bullying.
Yeah, it's weird, yeah.
Yes, that's just what they're all using, the term bullying, and there are definitely cases of bullying.
You can, but you can't say that it's not that,
I know.
Especially if you're an employee or something, right?
It's
so you
very
just have
difficult.
To
you have to educate the kids, and you have to, but more importantly, you have to educate the parents because the parents often call it bullying as well, and it's just not. That's just not what it always is. But I like to work with the kids that are being targeted because I want to give those kids the skills to deal with it because they're being targeted for a reason. And they're going to get targeted again. And hey, if you can't deal with it now, that means you're not going to deal with it next year, the year after that, the year after that, the year after that. I know I've been targeted, and even at this age, it's not easy to handle. Yeah. I don't like it, So if I know that I don't like the way it makes me feel, imagine a 13-year-old.
Right.
So
they don't have a clue.
Tough. No, it's tough.
But then what about so the parent aspect too that fits in there? If they're saying, well, just like the different dynamics. Say, I don't know, 14 years ago to today could be somewhat comparable, but I don't know. I mean, both parents are working and stuff now. Kids are kind of, I don't want to say in limbo or something, but somebody else is taking care of them.
Instagram.
And playing, video games,
parents,
whatever.
Any parent that's watching this, just go home make sure you take a look at Instagram. Make sure you take a look at the fake apps that your kids. There are apps on your kid's phone, iPad, whatever you want to call it, that are not really a calculator, that are not really what they seem. There are fake ones that your kids are hiding their stuff behind, and start there, because a lot of times I talk to the parents and they're like, "Not my kid."
Yeah.
And I say, "Have you seen your kid's Instagram?" And they say no. And I'm like, "You might want to start there, because there are naked pictures, there are cursing, swearing, things like that. And these kids are hiding quite a bit. And the parents have no idea."
Right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a clue either. Because,
Yeah, got it.
so that's interesting.
Yeah.
What, and then everybody too, like, I'm probably could be in violation and probably hate on some people on occasion, because it's like you see stuff that people put online and you're just like, it's total BS, because if you know the person, or like you know other situations, but it's like everybody just puts like,
I'm in
they're out with
violation
friends
too.
with like both their arms around each other, and it's like,
I'm
oh
in
man, this
violation
guy's
too,
what a good guy, or he's doing this and that, and
Yeah.
but behind closed doors he's actually terrible to
Chris,
whoever. So
I think I'm in violation too, because I think I'm much in line with you in that I'm just more upfront and honest and real about who I am. Like, I have my struggles.
Yeah.
I'm here. This is me right here, right now. And you know what? This morning I was having a tough morning, not in a great place. I was telling you about my injuries this morning, and I was just kind of looking out into the rest of my summer, and being an injured athlete that really struggles with being injured, not being able to run. My mental space is not quite the same when I can't run. And is that the end of the world? No. Are there people suffering with far worse conditions? 100% yes. So I'm not a woe is me, but in terms of my own personal mental space, I that's my medicine, my running. So struggling this morning, not in a good mental space. So yeah, I didn't take a snapshot of that, and if I did, it wouldn't be pretty on Facebook, but you know what?
But people see that then, and the people that do that, they see that and like, oh, all right, like it's almost like somebody's playing the game here, and like, I don't know, it's like you're appealing to people that like, but then it's like a picture of you or a picture of me, say I'm like super upset, daughter's been sick, whatever, like these past couple of weeks have been awful, a picture of me like being upset in the corner. I know some people might see that and be like, oh yeah.
And I don't post that stuff, I don't really, I'm sort of like, I'm an open book to people that ask me questions. Yeah. So you ask me anything, I'll tell you. But I don't post like either high or low. I'm kind of
people are posting for, they get those clicks and stuff, and it's freaking such a response that you get. Like, I started doing more stuff just for the business online.
Absolutely.
Trying to anyway.
Yeah.
And you go on, there's like 7 notifications when like for like the last year it's like you get 1 every 3 weeks, because I wasn't doing anything on there. But then now you start putting stuff on, what I've been reading, I watched this, I just read this, check this out, and then some kid left weights on. What should his punishment be? So you get a bunch of responses, but the next thing you know, you're checking your phone and you're like, what the hell's going on here?
But you have some funny stuff like that. That was pretty funny. But I do have to say, I respect your posts a lot, and I like that you have educational component to what you do post, and I listen to what you post, and I take account the books that you say that you read. I take inventory of that stuff, and I'm like, that's really cool, because you want to give back. You're not in this for yourself. You're in what you do to be able to reach other people, and that's meaningful to me. So to me, you're reaching the people you want to reach. You're not reaching the people that you want to click like.
No, that's true. I would agree with that. Yeah. Because it doesn't because most of the stuff too is not like. I think for a gym, maybe I should have videos of people doing like everybody on, say, Instagram is like the cool, unique, this guy like does a push-up, he's clapping his hands 65 times and then going, but that's like stupid.
I know, I think
so
about
I'm like,
that
I don't
stuff
do that.
too, but it's like,
it's just not my
what?
personality,
it's not
really.
Me
so,
yeah.
But I don't even know if this is what I was trying to say before too, but like you could see all this stuff, say, let's say the past 3 weeks or whatever have been terrible, we're in the hospital, daughter's got IVs and stuff, so it's some people might see like, oh, Chris is doing, oh, look, like stuff's going good for Chris, but really like things weren't good at all, like, so I guess that's something that is maybe hard to keep in mind, but like every like whatever you see online is not totally like somebody's story, and
definitely not
people,
at all.
like even you're in a terrible mood or a rough morning, stuff like that, and somebody might meet you and be like, oh, she's so awesome, whatever, but nobody knows. Nobody knows what goes on with people's kids. Nobody knows what goes on with other people's your siblings or neighbors or whatever.
I always say, like, I believe not a whole lot of people's stories online.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. No.
I mean, it was even like, somebody came in and she was pregnant, lost the pregnancy, and was just like, this is like, we were just kind of talking about like how nobody knows like kind of what women go through when something like that happens. Probably because that woman doesn't share it.
Yeah.
For maybe a good reason, maybe not, who knows. Maybe they need to share it more so like more people could hear it and kind of understand. But like, that was kind of the way that conversation went, where like people don't have a clue what goes on in other people's lives, and now like crap, like even for the kids that you work with and stuff, like this kid could be the best athlete on the team, but he could be the most depressed kid in the whole school, and nobody would think that, oh, this guy should be he should be whatever.
Should be happy because he has
but his dad might freaking smack him around every night for all we know. So crazy crappy stuff.
It's true story. Good point.
I did want to go with I wanted to ask you this earlier, but we went to, who knows what we were talking about there.
Lots of stuff.
Tangents, siblings and stuff like that. So you were a competitor. Where are you? You have some siblings, right?
I do, and they are not competitive at all. So I have an older sister.
All right.
She is the firstborn, most beautiful, and number one.
Really? Wow.
I'm being
Those
facetious,
are all...
obviously. So my parents' favorite.
Really? She's the favorite?
Yeah, totally.
Interesting.
And then I have a brother who he's the only boy. So the two of them are like, and then there's me.
Yeah.
And so my middle name is Alan, and my middle name is after my grandfather, who was actually an Olympic competitor in the hammer throw.
Yeah.
So like,
that's where you get all your power from.
Yeah. Honestly, like I kind of feel like, right. So, and then I do have a younger sister, also not competitive at all. So I kind of feel like perhaps, like, I didn't really know my grandfather well. A, he died early. B, he was in the FBI, and so he had his own like issues going on. But I really never spent time with him. He died when I was 10.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like, so for whatever reason, like my middle name named after his first name. I don't know, whatever.
Some sort of path.
Right, some sort of path.
Some sort of connection.
But from a very young age, I just was extremely intrinsically motivated. I never wanted anyone to see me cry. I always wanted to just do my best. It wasn't always about winning for me. It was just, I just wanted to be fast, I guess. Because it was more about running. Like I was in running like early. And like I said, when he threw me in that race at 9, I was like, okay, that was cool. Like, I enjoyed that feeling of like going fast.
Do you think that some of the psychological stuff you get as an adult, do you think as like a 9-year-old you kind of realized that and got that, or no?
For sure.
You're just into like,
for sure. Yeah, I do. Because I look back on like a lot of, my path, and I think that I did develop it early on. And I think that, my long distance running, that's what makes me tick, So like if I didn't start that so early on, maybe I wouldn't need it so much. Like I talk about my mental space. Maybe I wouldn't need it so much, but I need it that much because I started it so early that it's just a part of me.
But if you didn't find that at 9, you might have found something else at 12 or 14
probably,
that could have been good or bad.
I probably.
So.
Exactly. So it's, and I didn't quite find my balance, however, because I definitely take it a little too far sometimes.
So let's go in. I guess we should just go into your running then. So, you started at 9. Elementary school, whatever, successful, smoking people, middle school, running, high school, track, cross country, both?
All of it.
Mile, 2 mile?
Always longer distance. The longer I went, the better. Still the case with me.
What about college?
I ran in college.
Where'd you go?
I had very ups and downs. Penn State.
Very
do you
love
up and
Penn
down.
State like all the other people that went there?
I do. Okay. I love Penn State. I'm not. So my running career there was really up and down. Unfortunately, that's where some of my lack of balance came into play. So my coach at the time was sort of like, hey, you'd be even faster if you lost weight.
Oh, no.
And that's where some of the female
Is it a male or
stuff,
female coach?
Female.
A female coach said it.
That's where some of the female issues, I guess, the female triad comes into play. And so, so if we touch upon that, that's sort of...
Do you want to or no?
Yeah, totally.
So,
oh my God, yeah.
So I guess in, I don't know, I don't remember where I kind of came across it. I think I was probably just learning about it, but like learning to become like a coach or following the strength and conditioning stuff. And it was like one thing to look out for in like females is this triad that they call it, where basically it just is kind of like a slippery slope where one thing leads to another, potentially with And when they say disordered eating, it could just be like a failure to get adequate amount of calories, not necessarily like eating disorder where you're making yourself vomit, but just not taking in as much fuel as you need to be. If you're running a bunch, you might be burning a lot of calories. You might not be eating enough to compensate. And then next thing you know, I don't know how to pronounce it, amenorrhea.
Amenorrhea.
Boom.
Yeah.
Where just hormonal stuff, right? I mean, the whole system just starts not functioning properly. And then when that occurs, just bone mass density and stuff, I don't know, you get stress fractures, things of that nature, like osteopenia, osteoporosis, things like that. And it's all, I don't really know. I think most people, I don't remember exactly how it was, but it was like most people kind of have 2 out of the 3 potentially going on that do start to suffer, where it's like, it's not usually like one thing in isolation, just because I think one might lead to the other. So, I mean, where do you want to go with this at all?
I can talk about all of them.
All right, so do you think it started in that, is it like that kind of order in the sense of like,
it all
so
started,
somebody tells you like, what about before that? Did you have any kind of body image things where like somebody ever say anything?
Slightly, because my family, so my family is all fat. They're morbidly obese. So
wait, like your siblings and all that?
So my older sister is pretty big. Okay.
I was gonna say she might not appreciate you saying.
She's not gonna watch the podcast.
Morbidly.
I'll block her from the podcast.
Yeah.
So my grandmother was morbidly obese. Like, she was in a wheelchair because she couldn't walk. She was so fat. She would wheel herself around in a wheelchair because she was so fat.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're just all bigger people. So I wanted to calculate my gene versus my score, because the highest is 100, as you were saying. And I was like trying to think like genetically, like you might give me a different genetic score than I would give myself, because like to me I'm so average it's not even funny. I'm average in every aspect of my life. I just work my ass off to get where I'm at. And that's the one thing that like I think people have a misconception about me. They're like, oh, you're so lucky, you're this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, my life has zero to do with luck. I wake up at 3:45 a.m. every damn day of my life. I
was going to bring that up. I remember I read one of your like interviews in the paper, and it was like you were on the streets by 4 a.m. or something.
Yeah. And I want to punch people that tell me I'm lucky. Because 3:45 in the morning has nothing to do with luck. You know what I mean?
How long have you been doing that?
About 4 or 5 years. Since my daughter, I have a kid, so it's like I can't come home from.
That's why you sleep. That's why you're mad at it.
Another off the record advice. 1 kid. Stick with it, man. It works.
Off the record, but on the record.
Exactly. I was gonna say, but on the record. So
I'll delete it.
It has nothing to do with luck. It doesn't. So I work really hard. I work really, really hard. So I would say, gene-wise, I was saying I have a little bit of a connection. My grandfather, whatever, like he hammer throw, so not long distance, but whatever. So I would rate myself like a 5. I would say I'm middle of the road, but I work really hard. And I don't back down, which can also be an issue, right? Which is why I'm injured. So, which is why, again, we'll lead back to the female triad. So, age 18. I realize I have to work harder than everybody else to get where everybody else is at. Yeah. I just do. It's always been me. School too. Average, right down the middle. If I want to get straight A's, I have to study longer, harder, more, whatever. That's just how I've always been. So, age 18, college, and my coach says, I want you to run the 10K, and you could be even faster if you lose weight. I don't want you drinking juice. I don't want you using syrup on your waffles. I want you drinking water. And cut back on whatever, everything. But at that moment in time, you were probably, do you think you were like too thin at the time? No, I was normal. I was straight up normal. I remember I was on my way home from my physical my freshman year, and I was like 125 pounds, and I'm 5'8", so pretty normal, Yeah. So, and I wasn't really muscular at that time because I didn't really get into lifting yet. So, I mean, I know. I know. So, I was pretty straight up normal, and I remember being on like the little bus because the medical campus was like, off campus. And I just remember thinking like, oh crap. Okay. What am I going to have at dinner tonight at the dorm? Okay. Should I even go to dinner? Maybe I won't go to dinner. And that's when it all began. Yeah. And that's when, the thoughts start turning in your head. And, the disordered eating. So like, I never was really like full-fledged anything, but you talk about not getting adequate calories and you get like creative with your meals, and those thoughts never go away. You know what I mean? Like I'm definitely normal, and recovered, but there are days, Chris, where like when I'm trying to cope with my stress or like manage my life, don't get me wrong, like I definitely think to myself, like I definitely want to go an extra 5 miles today, or I definitely want to not eat as much tonight because I'm dealing with this stress.
Yeah.
And that's not a healthy way to process or manage anything.
No.
And so when I was really, really struggling, I'm trying to think, like right after college, I think, and grad school, I actually was pretty normal, probably the most normal that I had been. But then after that, I started to get back into running again. Like I stopped for like a little while, and then I started to get back into competitive running again, and I started to really run well. And then all the thoughts came back again, and so I was like, okay, I just ran the Olympic trials qualifying time. I started having, elite teams contact me and say like, hey, we can pay your way to this race. Hey, you can win money. Hey, we're gonna, and I started really developing these unhealthy thoughts again. And well, let me tell you something. One thing led to another, and definitely the female triad was in full effect, and then some, because I, at the age of 26, went through early menopause. 26.
So at that time, did you have any idea what was going on, or you like went to the doctor and was
Totally.
like, hey, all right, so you had an idea?
How about I was in denial?
What about injuries and stuff? Were you getting hurt in like college and after college, or no?
I don't know how I like managed through that stuff,
Yeah.
but not really. I was pretty much okay, like I'm also really resilient. Like I'm super resilient. So somehow I worked my way through it and I was okay. I mean, I had like little things here and there, but nothing like truly major.
Yeah.
At all.
So maybe that goes to the whole thing too, where like maybe 2 of the 3 kind of present themselves. I don't know. But then I obviously don't have a clue about much of this stuff, but they talk about this stuff kind of taking time to almost reverse itself. Like,
didn't reverse itself. It did not.
So at age 26, it was like you started having issues, and then they don't go away.
No, I never ever got a period again after age 26. So I went through menopause. So when women are like, when women tell me like, oh, hot flashes, I'm like, yeah, been there, done that. 26, yeah. I was getting hot flashes and still waking up full-fledged sweat in bed, and that was my fault. Like, I mean, I did that to myself. Right. You know what I mean? So it's like I look back at that.
But that doesn't help either. The mental.
Not at all.
Health aspect. When
Not
you're
at
like,
all. It was awful. I did it to myself.
Actions did it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, in order to have my daughter, she cost me a lot of money. I paid a lot of money to have her because I had to go through fertility. So
how old were you when you had her?
So 36.
All right, so like 10 years after all this.
Yeah.
I was wondering.
And I was on fertility for 5 years to have her.
And if you didn't do that, no baby.
No child.
0% chance.
0% chance.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to let her know about this when she's older.
I know. I tell him like she better get herself a scholarship. No.
Yeah.
You know what? It was my fault. You know what I mean? Like I did all that to myself. So it's like, is it?
Oh,
really,
that's hard though. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it really worth it? And of course, yes and no. Because it's like here I am still talking about my injury and running and stuff, and it's like, At what point is it unhealthy? Because still in my brain, what I do is not unhealthy, but yet maybe to my body it is. I don't feel like I work out like extreme at all. I run like an hour a day. I don't really think that's extreme, but to some people and maybe to my body it is.
Yeah, but some people are like, did you ever see that guy David Goggins?
No.
I don't want to call him an idiot because he's like the most unique. He like took pride being, uncommon amongst the uncommon. He went to the Navy SEALs, whatever. But he was like this big 280-pound, just wanted to lift weights, join in the Army type thing, to like lift him heavy one day, and then all of a sudden it's like, I'm going to go run a 100-miler the next day on a track laps. For 24, it was 24 hours, you had to get 100 miles just to qualify for something. So anyway, this guy just goes and runs. He did thousands of pull-ups, this guy's like on a totally another level. So like some people are
Yeah,
different in the sense where like they could get up and do something and he'll go and run 10 miles at whatever time and then go do some other crap. And like some people might think that's nuts, but for him it's like,
yeah. And I just, like I was saying, my family, they're all like so much heavier, so I just like in my brain, like, well, maybe like my set point for my weight is just higher and my pituitary gland is like, this is not your set weight. But then what do you do when you're a state champion, that many years? When I'm like, an Olympic trials qualifier in the marathon, like how do you let go of that?
like
You know what I mean?
how do you turn it?
Yeah, how do you not continue to try to develop that talent and just like let your body, you know what I mean? It's a hard balance. Like I was saying,
Well,
that balance.
I think a lot of people struggle with that. You see
It's
like
hard.
these people that are like, I don't know, I would just coach football, so I would like use that as an example always. But the people like you run out for the Super Bowl one day, then the next day you're not in the NFL anymore,
Yeah.
and you're living somewhere. It's like, what do you do to get that?
What-
like
yeah.
every Sunday you got this like huge
Right.
rush, testosterone, getting amped up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, what are you gonna do?
What are you? Yeah.
So-
yeah.
I don't think you're the only one.
It's a
He has something going on where it's just like he's going to push through no matter what.
Yeah.
And I think some people have that and other people don't. Where
Yeah, I
like,
agree.
Currently, you got like you said, I never really got hurt, but for you, it might not have been hurt, but like for
Yeah.
9 out of 10
Yeah.
people, they
It
might have
was
been
hurt.
like
Yeah.
that knee or the hip or the
Yeah.
ankle might have shut them down for a little
Yeah,
bit.
that's
but
true. That's
you
true.
were just like could be. I think people have different tolerances.
You're right.
and-
I think so too.
I
have a
think
very
like with
high
that race, like
personal-
Quadzilla, for
Yeah.
example, like there's like there's got to be a certain mental aspect. Like everybody's legs were
Huge.
probably burning, right? But some people are just able to push that to the side and keep
I
going.
love that
so
shit.
right, see, so I think you do have something,
A few
But anyway.
screws unloose. up here.
No, just different maybe. But it's not.
Thank you, I
But it
appreciate
motivated
that.
you, right? I mean, who wants to be like everybody else? Nobody. So being different's good. So,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, but right
Sometimes.
now though,
Yeah.
not so much.
No,
what do you got
not so
going
much,
on?
not so
So you're
much.
not
So-
able to run. You're telling me you got some hip stuff going
So
on. Both sides.
so I had a so this year I was training for Boston and had every intent on running, and then both parents got extremely ill. My dad has stage 4 cancer, and then right before Boston, my mother fell down the stairs and snapped her leg in half. Thus, neither one of them could take care of the other. So for the trip to Boston, it was supposed to be like a 5-day trip, and it was like I couldn't go because I was taking care of them. So I trained all the way for that race, and then I never ran the race, but then I didn't really take downtime. I just didn't stop. I kept going. And it was pounding on the treadmill every morning because it's pitch black and I didn't run outside. It was just on the treadmill. Even some of my long runs were on the treadmill. I did 18 miles on the treadmill one Saturday morning when it was a snowstorm.
What did you do? Like watch anything, or you
I
just
did. Oh, a lot
watch,
of
like,
crap. A lot of
3
crap.
movies?
I don't even know.
You got like documentaries or something?
Yeah,
Watching
pretty
like
much,
conspiracy
pretty much.
theories. And
Yeah, in your mind. You just have to take your mind to like different places. And
That sounds awful.
it was.
Is that your longest ever on a treadmill?
Yep.
Jesus.
Yeah. And I would do
But
it
you
again
couldn't
because
skip
I'm
it.
crazy. Yeah, because you
Couldn't
can't
skip
skip
that,
it.
right?
So
God forbid you miss a workout.
Exactly. So I never, after the race, usually you take a couple days of downtime, never off, downtime. And I just never really did that. So I just continued to sort of train through it. And unfortunately, I just kept training through some nagging pains over here, which led to my gait being extremely off running. And developed a quad issue here. And maybe your camera can pick up me massaging my bruising through here. And I think I have a tear over here of sorts. And so here I am, totally messed up.
Yeah. Can't run.
No.
What are you doing for exercise right now?
Spin.
How's that? Not the same?
I hate it.
Pumping any iron?
Heck yeah. Oh yeah. I'm gonna
How does that though? I mean, can you do stuff with your hip being
I'm going to stay away from any squats and lunges and stuff. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to check out. So today's my daughter's first day of the 2-hour gymnastics thing. And right behind it is a Planet Fitness.
Mm-hmm.
I just got a free pass there. I'm going to check it out. And every Tuesday, Thursday, I might up my lifting game for the summer and just...
While she's there, just go work out?
Yeah,
cool.
See how it goes. Yeah.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, I'm just going to just see if I can switch it up a little bit because I'm going to go nuts.
You have to get into jiu-jitsu or something?
Yeah, I got to do something. Yeah.
Something crazy.
Yeah.
So treadmill compared to being outside, can you get...
Can you train
for a marathon on a treadmill?
I believe in the treadmill. Yeah, I do because you know what? It keeps your pace honest. The problem with it is that it just it does change your gait a little bit. You're not as free to move. So and then you can get a little psycho on it. You just keep jacking up the pace, and that can be an issue too. It's not always the best tool.
And you would say that you probably overtrained a little bit?
Yeah, definitely.
So with the marathon, let's say, let's say I'm going to run one. Let's say it's in a week. What would I be doing today? When do you start winding down?
In a week?
No, I'm saying I trained full.
Okay.
I already did the full thing. So 1 week out.
You start tapering about 2 weeks before.
Yeah, so 2 weeks you might do something close in distance?
No. In fact, there are theories that you never run 26 miles.
Do you know Phil Maffetone, that coach?
Who?
Phil Maffetone, Maffet. So he does a heart rate stuff where he's he does self-limiting stuff where it's your heart rate's never going to exceed 120.
A lot of people do that.
Just nose only breathing for 6. I don't know.
I can't do that.
Well, some of his people won't even exceed 10 miles.
Some people
They'll
do
30 mile weeks or something.
Yeah, no, I don't. Marathons. I can't. No, I'm not that kind of person.
Right.
No.
No. So he was featured in. Do you know the guy that wrote Born to Run? The Barefoot Trainer?
I met him.
All right.
I have his book.
Did you read a second one?
No.
That one is what is that called? Something about heroes,
maybe
natural born heroes, where they talk about what the heck is the connection? There's the Greek island of Crete. They took down the Nazis, and then he connects running and all these guys running through the hills there. These Greeks that anyway. So he has these 2 stories that he tells, which is pretty cool. But he does talk about that guy there, and it talks about heart rate somehow is tied into that book, and your body's going to be able to recover better if it does, if you can keep your heart rate in that 105 to 120 range or something.
And I, you know what, and I met him, and the funniest thing about when I met him, he's the barefoot runner guy, is that I had on these huge platforms.
Like McDougal, right?
Yeah. And he autographed my book and everything like that. I had on honestly probably the highest platform wedges ever, and he's checking me out. I'm like, hey, what's up? I'm like, yeah. It's kind of funny.
Where'd you meet him? Somewhere around here?
Runners. I was working at the Runners World Expo when they had one of their races.
Oh, cool.
And they had him in. The thing about that stuff, and everybody has got to do what's best for them. And I love the fact that he has this theory, and I love that about him and what he does. But he just runs, man. You know what I mean? If you want to be a champion, that's one thing. If you want to be a runner, that's another thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's 2
So that guy's a runner.
Right. He's a barefoot runner.
He's not winning anything ever.
No, he's not. No.
And it's funny, but you could actually say that because you won things, and you could be like me,
But he's not looking about. You know what I mean? He just looks like a regular dude. You know what I mean? He's just, it depends on what your goal is.
You just start jacking some steel, do you think? No, I'm just kidding. We're going to be making fun of this guy.
No, and he's...
So what about that with runners, though? I mean...
Everybody's got a goal. Everybody's... part of me, part of me wants to be healthy. There's heart conditions in my family, and like I said, there's obesity. So, I have different motivations. Of course, winning is awesome. It's fun. Really, it's winning a couple of marathons. The first marathon I ever won, there's nothing like it. You know what I mean? It's an awesome feeling. You cross the finish line and people are like, yeah, you won. You win all this money. You're a champion. People look at you like you're awesome. Even though inside I'm I'm just me. And people look at you in awe, and I'm I'm really just me. I'm nobody different. I ran faster than you, but whatever, we experience the same amount of pain. Trust me, it's not I felt awesome. You know what I mean? but it's a great feeling. And you know, I trained myself. Nobody trained me to win. You know what I mean? It's all me, everything inside. And so like, for me to get out there every single day and do what I did alone and come across that finish line because I did this for myself, with myself, by myself, is an awesome accomplishment. Yeah. So that's a great feeling. So winning is a cool motivation. Now, I'm at a point in my life where, like, I'm not set out to win anything anymore. I'm not getting any younger. I'm not a spring chick, you know what I mean? So it's like, I'm not in it to do with that anymore. Do I want to look a certain way? Of course, you know what I mean? I don't want to be fat, you know, I don't want to be like this, you know, obese, you know, whatever. I looked at my family, when I was 16, I looked around at my family, and that was a huge motivation for me. And so, like, it had a multi-effect when that coach said that to me. Like, I didn't see myself following my family's path because I was always a runner, but at the same time, I was like, oh my God, like, she's saying this to me. Does that mean I am turning out to be like my family? So like, it did have an effect on me. So yeah, I don't want to be like that. Do I think I'll ever get like that? No, but it still weighs on my mind, you know, but at the same time, I want to be a healthy role model for my daughter. I don't want to sit there and be, you know, a crazy lunatic and restrict myself, because if she sees that, she's going to do that. I don't want that for her at all. I want to have fun. So, you know, I definitely eat with her and we enjoy our meals, even though somehow she doesn't eat anything. And she's, you know, she's like one thing and she's like ready to go.
She's good to go.
Yes. But I want to be a healthy role model for her and other young ladies. You know, I don't want them to look at me and say, you know, oh, I want to look like her, but she doesn't eat. You know, I don't want that. You know, I really don't. I'm really sensitive to that stuff. But I am, you know, but I also don't want to put a ton of crap in my body either. You know, I don't go to McDonald's. I don't go to, you know, fast food joints. I don't go out to eat. I really rarely go out to eat. I make my meals at home. I often pack my meals with me because I just don't want to eat crap either. Will I eat crap? Of course. Do I make nachos and stuff on weekends? Yeah. Will I have a margarita on a Sunday? For sure. But is it an every night occurrence? No, not at all.
That's like the thing too, that like, like people, like, I don't say I won't eat like stuff that has flour in it or something. Like I don't eat bread at all. Like some kids are like, ooh, you don't eat bread? And I'm like, I don't eat no, I haven't really found a need for it. But like I would eat like 4 cupcakes if I felt like it. Right. But I just don't feel like doing it every day or every weekend or something like that. Or eating like some sort of ice cream or something is like, I might have it, but like you can't do it all the time.
Not every day at all. Not at all.
And then, but people do that.
They do. They do it all the time.
You're like the weirdo, you know.
Not
you,
exactly.
Me too. I'm the same.
Well, I know,
thing,
yeah.
So.
And especially at work, like in my atmosphere, you know, like during like, you know, staff meetings or like whatever, right. Everyone brings, you know, something to contribute. And I actually one staff meeting brought my protein powder and blender to make people protein shakes.
Sure, they love that. Dude, it tastes pretty good though.
And they're all like, oh, what are you bringing? And I'm like, well, I don't want to eat cupcakes you know, I'm like, you guys just had donuts for breakfast, pizza for lunch. I'm like
throwing a bagel.
What the hell, you know, like.
I don't understand how people could make it through the day.
It's disgusting. Like when I eat.
Maybe they're just immune to it. Like they haven't eaten it for a while, but if I would eat something like that now, I'm like, my head's like.
Exactly. Like
I'm
all
groggy.
Sick, you know?
I don't know what the hell's going on.
I don't want to do it, you know. I just don't want to do it.
Yeah, it's a personal decision. Yeah. Like you could if you don't hate it. But.
No, and you know, if I could, I would. Like if I didn't, you know, if I didn't give a crap about myself, I would eat 4 cupcakes every single day. Like, you know, but I don't want to do it, you know.
Right. I got you. I'm with you, 100%. Yeah. I wanted to go with. Well, I don't even. I think we kind of got the idea in the sense of like. I did want to talk about like the marathon training part of things too, where like I kind of dove into it a little bit, but. When you started getting injured, what do you think of like the whole fact of like, so some people might say like, well, not some people, it'll be like some college strength coach was like, I don't believe in like overtraining, just like under eating, in the sense that people probably aren't getting the nutrients and stuff like that they should be. Like, you've worked with runners, right? Like you've coached people like that. Yeah. Like what type of stuff, like say somebody is, you know, a female that is 130 pounds, like whatever, normal, right? 5'6", 5'8", whatever. Yeah. what you considered yourself to be normal, say back in the day, like what would you tell that person in terms of like nutrients and stuff like that, in terms of like getting stuff in, like how mindful, like is it a force feeding situation? Like, do you think it's like,
because that just will blow up in your face. I think educating is key. I think when you educate somebody and you bring in a neutral party to do the education, because if you have a parent or a coach doing the education component, like that just mixes the worlds up, and that just makes that student or athlete or child go against you, and that's just no way to do it. You have to bring in a nutritionist, you have to bring in somebody that knows about the nutrition piece, and you have to address it from that aspect, and you have to, educate. Just educate. And if you want, and I think like coming up with a personal plan for the kids is great, because then they can see, oh, if I eat this, and this is okay, and my body will do this. I think the educational component is like totally key for some of these kids, because sometimes they just don't know. Sometimes they just have no idea.
I think most people.
Yeah. And the earlier you know
what you read though
the better.
about, like, we just talked about not eating certain things, but it's like I was coaching football, and like parents were bringing in like 2 hours before a game, 3 hours, no, probably like 3 hours, like hoagie trays and stuff like that. I'm like, these kids are going to be sleeping before the game starts. They're crushing hoagies, and like then they got like probably a Gatorade drink and like some fruit on top of it, and like all these like 100 grams of sugar probably all in their system. And I'm like, yeah. But anyway, like Gatorade has like those chews and stuff where like, you know, if you do an endurance event, like you might need to replenish, but like some of these kids were like playing a football game and they're like crushing 3 packs of chews like they're about to go run for 20 hours. And I'm like, what the heck's going on here?
Like
but anyway.
It's like eating a bagel and cream cheese for a 5K, and it's like, that's like 800 calories.
Carbo loading.
You don't need a carbo load for a 5K.
No, you can roll out of bed and just do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they used to have a spaghetti dinner like the night before a football game, and I'm like, it's freaking Thursday night, you're playing in 24 hours. What the hell are we doing?
I know, I love it. That's so right.
But anyway, that's what they learn, and then like the coaches, like it's what they think is the right thing to do. I know,
right.
And like, I don't know, it's messed up. So you can't really fault anybody.
No, it's true.
Like the information that's out there is like total crap sometimes.
And I will never forget, like I remember speaking to a nutritionist. We brought one into high school when I was in high school. My team listened to one, and it was really informational. Unfortunately, like I wish I could have, stuck with her to kind of guide me through some of the emotional stuff during the college years, because, when my coach got to me at that time, if I could have at least sat with her and really laid out my plan, I would have been better off. But emotionally, I was so just like brought down by, what my college coach told me, because your college coach is God, when you're there at Penn State, nonetheless. Like I was not worthy, I felt, of even being on the team or even being at Penn State. So like when your college coach tells you these things, you're like, oh my God, if I don't listen, I don't deserve anything, So it was an unfortunate situation that stuck with me, and here I am. But
still, though, it's however many years later, and it's still ingrained.
Exactly.
So it's like everything. That's the crazy thing too. That I guess everything that you say, you have no idea how it's going to affect somebody, especially when you're working with kids.
You got it.
Like that to one kid.
Exactly.
Like you don't. That coach probably doesn't even remember that.
She probably, to be honest, she, in my opinion, I think she knew exactly what she was doing, and I think she knew exactly what she wanted. I think she really wanted a champion, and I think she wanted me to drop all that weight so that I could just cross that finish line first. That's what I think. She was selfishly motivated by producing champions, and she didn't care about me or anybody else on that team. She wanted to win.
I've seen that too with other sports, in the sense of like, don't want to really bash gymnastics, but in the sense of like, I've just worked with some people where like they get to a certain level, and I've even talked to them about it, where it's like the coach is going to tell them to like do this stuff, and if there's 8 girls there and 3 of them drop out, they get hurt, they have some sort of mental breakdown or whatever, like then they're just like, see you later, and just next girl in, and try to get them up to speed. It's like these people, these individuals, that they just they don't have it or something, and they just kind of move on and throw them to the side. I don't know, no good. Bunch of crap.
See, that's the thing, I want to watch out for that in the world of gymnastics, because it's not my world and I don't know anything about it, but since that's becoming my daughter's world, I want to be sure that does not happen to my daughter. And the minute that becomes no fun to her, right now it's like so much fun to her, And the minute it is not fun to her, she's out. I don't want that because her spirit is so bright, and I want to keep it bright. And she is just all fun and everything, and I want to keep it that way.
Cool.
So, yeah.
But then going back to that thing too that I think is probably super important, and just that one thing that I guess if anybody does coach that listens to this, literally everything you say is matters. Every single thing.
Every single thing.
Because you could potentially destroy somebody.
You're right. You're absolutely
just by something that you don't even realize. Yeah.
You're right.
Now,
every single word you say, these kids listen to everything.
Mm-hmm.
When you are a coach, these kids listen to everything you say. Even if you say something like, "Wow, Chris, that shirt's weird."
Yeah.
Those kids, there might be 3 out of 10 kids that are going to go home and think, what does he mean by that?
Yeah.
You just don't know.
Man, there was a high school girl here that was her team was in, and I was she came in a big, her shirt was huge. So I don't even know what I said, but just something hey, oh, would you have to borrow somebody's shirt? She's like, no, it's mine. She's you're the third person to say something. I was like, oh, Jesus.
Right. Then
I felt like a total idiot.
Right, I know.
Because she felt bad about it, and I'm like,
yep, I know.
Just a shirt.
Then you feel
Why
bad.
would I even say anything about a shirt being baggy?
I know,
it was
I know,
a
but
weird
sometimes,
thing.
you know what, but you don't, you know what, and I've made mistakes like that too, where I've said things and I'm like, oh shoot, my intent was not to hurt somebody, and then, you start to think about it, and it's hard sometimes too, and listen, you're a human being, so am I, we make mistakes, and as long as your intention is to always care about the kids, they know that. They know.
Yeah, but you gotta try to say 10 more things to
You do, but they know
whatever.
your intention. Intention is far more important than anything, and always remember that. They know that. They know that.
Maybe.
They do.
I don't know.
They do. They do.
Guarantee?
I promise.
Is it a Megan guarantee?
That is
All right.
intention.
Good.
Yeah.
What else we want to get into here? We talked about dabble with some kids a little bit. I was going to ask you, if I was training for a marathon.
Yeah.
Basically to lay that out for me in the sense of timeline.
Okay. Yeah.
Say
sure.
You're working with somebody. I don't know if I want to be just use me for example.
Sure.
Most I've ever run, I might have hit double digits at some point in my life.
Right.
So it's not like I know what the hell I'm doing. So it'd be the beginner approach for a marathon.
Since you are a beginner, I would probably put you on a 16-week program, and we would start off pretty slow.
Ooh, 4 months.
Yeah.
It's quite the commitment.
Yeah.
All right. What do we got?
Well, I wouldn't have you running
me.
every day, which is why I would make it 16 weeks, right? So there's going to be a 16-week or a 12-week program. So I'd put you on a 16-week because I'd want to start you up slower, right? So to build your base a little bit slower. So I would, it'd be just a periodization, build you up and bring you down. So depending on your threshold and what I feel you could handle, I'd kind of see how your training is going. I'd kind of gauge okay, how'd you handle your 8-mile run? How'd you handle your 10-mile run? And see how quickly I could kind of bump you up. I wouldn't bump you up any more than 10% the week previous.
So that's kind of I see that in other things too, in the sense of that would be running volume, but even weightlifting training volume, it'd be don't bump it up more than 10%'s
right.
the cutoff. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd probably I'd probably take you away from your heavy.
Yeah. No, I was just using basically the 10% rule type of thing.
Yeah,
I just use that as an example.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I would keep you weight training. There's no need to take you away from any of that. I wouldn't I wouldn't say keep up your same volume as what you do now. But there's no need to take it away. I still do as much not as much lifting, but lots of lifting during my marathon training because you know why? I want to. Why take it away if you enjoy it? You know what I mean?
I think your body adapted to it anyway, so it's been part of your routine for so long that
right, exactly.
I think you're probably good to go with it.
Yeah.
Not to say you want to lift 2 days beforehand, but you probably couldn't be okay just because it's something that you've been doing forever. But.
And some people like to do a long run every single weekend, and I would say...
Is that necessary, do you think? To go from 8.1 to
I would say you could
9.5 the next week, is that...
You could do medium long, kind of every other weekend.
Intervals in there and whatnot? Is
Yeah,
there a different
I would
style
say. But again, if you're not enjoying workouts, I hate workouts. I hate track workouts, so I just didn't do them much.
Yeah. Would you do timed intervals outside ever?
Sometimes, when I was in the mood.
But you just pretty much, if you didn't feel like doing that stuff, you would just go run a distance?
Yeah.
And that's that?
Yeah, pretty much.
so that if it was, say, 16 weeks for me, and I started at 4 miles on a Saturday, I don't know, I'm not going to do this in my head really, but it'd be like a little mile and a half addition kind of
pretty
each
much.
week almost.
Yeah, I would try to get you to at least build up to, you know, a 2 to 3 hour run in between a couple times, so that you could at least make sure that you could make the distance, because if you don't, then you're going to be hurting the unit the marathon day.
Did you ever not finish a marathon?
No.
Did you ever get to a point where you shouldn't have finished and you did? Like, did you ever get sick? Like people could get like rhabdo, whatever. Like, did you ever get that where like it's like kidneys, like?
No.
Okay,
no.
yeah.
One marathon I did the night before. There was like crazy amounts of traffic. We didn't get to my hotel until like 10 p.m. I missed the expo to get all of my stuff.
Yeah.
Didn't get dinner, and then the next morning I took some gels which didn't sit well for me, so they kind of all went like this, and I wound up like blacking out and then like puking, and like my whole stomach like seized up. So I did wind up in the med tent on that one upon finishing. That was not fun.
So wait, when did that happen? The night before or the day of?
The day as soon as I finished the marathon, I like keeled over.
So it wasn't
and
like in the
started
morning
puking
you
my
were
guts
like,
out.
oh wow.
Yeah, because I didn't get dinner the day before, so I decided to fuel with the gels, which didn't
Absolutely.
go very well.
I feel like they say like you should whatever you take like
not
race
a good
day.
choice. Not a good choice.
You should like practice at some point previously.
Not a good choice.
All right.
Don't
Do you think
try that.
everybody could run a marathon?
No.
Okay. Interesting.
No.
So you don't think no matter what, they can't get their body to adapt and make it happen?
No.
Oh, running is a key, I guess. 'Cause
Listen,
that's
it's
running
50-50. Here's the thing. 50-50. Physiologically, you have to train your body to do it. This is 50% of the issue. There are some people that just don't have it.
I would probably overtrain for one just because of fear that my brain would quit. Like that I would just be like, screw it. At like 18
No, you'd
miles.
run awesome. You wouldn't overtrain. You would do it.
But I would make sure I could run like 30
Yeah.
or something stupid. No, it could be overtraining situation.
But you know what? You would do well because your first one you would do well because you would pick somebody to train you. After that, you would probably train yourself, and then you would
Fail.
overtrain.
Then I would overtrain.
Yeah.
And just quit like 3 weeks beforehand and be like,
No,
you
you'd
know
still
what?
follow
This is
through.
stupid. I'm done.
But it does take a lot of time. Marathon training is a huge time commitment.
Yeah, it sounds
Yeah,
it.
it's huge.
How many days a week for a beginner?
For a beginner,
16-week plan would you want them
it
to run?
depends on what your goal is. Do you want to just finish, or you want to run well?
Yeah. Well, you're not going to win. You're a beginner.
But do you want to just? But I'm talking to you, or I'm talking to
Well,
Joe Schmo.
First one would probably be to finish the thing. But if
But
you
I'm
do more
talking
than
to
one,
you.
it might be me.
Or like,
What would I do? What would my goal be? Like, so I'd have to figure out if my goal would be to do a marathon, just like knock it off the list of things to do, or
yeah. So
like try to
for you,
do something
you'd want to
physically
run.
impressive.
You'd want to run like at least 5 days a week.
yeah, that's a lot. I was thinking like 2.
Get out of here. You'd start running. You'd be like, dude, Megan,
2 to 3
I gotta
days.
run more than 2. Then you'd run 3 days a week. Megan, listen.
That's a lot.
I gotta run more than 3 days a week. But you would get going, and you would see why and understand.
I got fairly good a couple years ago, not like doing crazy distances, but just doing like, just go run. Like it was this type of weather. We talked about running in the heat and like how much, I don't know, I enjoy being outside and sweating and how dumb it is to like go 8 or whatever miles, like just don't even take water and just be like, yeah, whatever.
Isn't it awesome?
And like go do it.
And you
You're the
love
only
it,
one
right?
that thinks it's awesome.
Yeah.
I did too, yeah.
I know.
But then I could have died like on the side of the road somewhere too.
You can't die at 8 miles with no water. Get out of here.
I know you can't, but anyway, I was running hills one day, like interval stuff where you just go as hard as you can for like 30 seconds, and walk down for like 90, and just try to rip and do a bunch of reps of that, and then just running for distance. And I was kind of impressed. Like you could get in pretty good running shape by just doing that. Like,
you can.
And then the other days, who knows? I was probably lifting 2 or 3 days, but anyway, yeah. But it's a slippery slope too, because it'd be like, all right, I just ran from this sign to that sign, or whatever. You do this one little loop. All right, I'm just going to take it to the next road.
Exactly.
Next road up. So then next thing you know, I'm starting like, yeah. And then anyway, and then I'd finish like my turnaround point would be running up South Mountain over here.
Right.
And like that's like 8/10. No, it's more than that because I was coming from the bottom. So like a mile and a half.
But that's
just
why
straight
I
up
know
incline.
that you would start getting the bug, and you'd be like, I got to do a 4th day. Megan, add in a 4th day. Megan,
But then as a coach, you'd be
add
like,
in a 5th day.
hey,
No, because I'd be like, you gotta know, like, all right, well, I gotta start asking you my questions. Is that 3:00 almost? Yeah.
Well, all right.
So
If you gotta roll.
Well, I just
Yeah.
have to make sure I get her changed and all that.
Yeah, that's
stuff.
cool.
So, my question's for you. Okay, so
Boom.
that's the thing. Like,
How many you got?
how
Are we on 3?
I'm allowed 3, right?
3 only. Yeah, that's right. I sent her a message that she could have 3 and 3 only. All right.
So, question
This is
number
number
1. So, how do you gauge in your clients? How do you gauge their limitation? Like, how do you effectively gauge how to push them and what their limit is? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I kind of, I don't think, I don't know. So I don't think you want to set limitations too much, because I think whatever their expectation is probably lower than whatever you think they're capable of. So like you work with somebody, for example, and be like, all right, you're going to do as many reps as possible on this one. Like say every month you're going to say, we'll do squat and the last week of every month, as many as you can. And you're seeing them, boom, it's like 1, 2, and you're like, oh, they're going to go double digits here. And then they get to 5, then they stop, and you're like, oh, I thought you were going to, get more. But then like in their mind, when they got a little bit of discomfort, they haven't trained enough to know that like I could push through this for a couple. Like I could do one more, and then you do that one and you're like, I could do another one. So like I always think that, like, not always, but some people are obviously different, but like I think some people kind of either don't know their like own capabilities, where they cut themselves before.
I guess I should have phrased it different, because my like mantra is no limits. So I guess maybe what I should say is like, how do you know when to not push too hard, right? Because like sometimes
I think I do the opposite, and like I'm like slow cooking.
Okay.
Probably more than I should be.
Okay.
So that could be, I don't want to say it's an issue, but like I'm super careful. Okay. And like some of the stuff we talked about with like all the crazy stuff you might see online, like I don't even do that with people.
Okay.
But I want people to like, so like with the Quadzilla run, like everybody's gonna have a certain level of discomfort. Some people kind of push through, so you got to kind of introduce them. Yeah. And then maybe it's like some sort of psychotherapy thing where you introduce them to a little bit of discomfort. Then next time you could like add a little bit more discomfort on top of that. So I try to like maybe layer it that way, as opposed to some sort of crazy motivational strategy. Just kind of expose them to a little bit of discomfort, and then maybe add more as you go. Yeah. And then hopefully you get them to realize that they can do more things. Does that answer it at all?
Yeah, it does. It does.
I just don't think that there's no, I don't know. I think that it's hard to do it in other ways. Like, I'm not going to yell at people. Like, who wants to be like, 2 more, let's go. You can do it. I just don't do that. I don't even think it helps people to do that.
No, that's good.
Try to get them to realize that they're more capable somehow, some way.
Yeah, I guess that's my question. Like, okay, that can be number 2.
But it's the each individual thing that you were talking about with the kids. Like, you got to figure out some sort of connection with everybody, and everybody's going to be different. So there's probably not one universal way, and you just got to try to. Like somebody had like PTSD from doing chin-ups from their younger days, a female. Okay. So it was like, we're hanging for 10 seconds today and that's it. Okay. Like that's literally, like she used to, I worked with her when she was a gymnast and was 15 chin-ups, maybe more. Now, like scared to even try one because she knew she wasn't capable of what she used to be because of an injury. And I was like, we're just going to hang for 10 seconds. Then the next time we did like one jump, pull yourself up, done. So that's kind of how I did.
That's a really good...
I learned it from this guy.
Desensitization. Yeah. That's like
he's a psychotherapist. Jordan Peterson's the guy. Yeah.
That's the
He's like, hey, if
term.
you're afraid of a spider, like bring the spider in, put it in the. Say, hey, I'm just going to set it
now
here for a minute.
Now you learned a new term. It's desensitization.
Got it.
Desensitization.
Yeah, that's all it is.
That's awesome though, because like I don't think many people will take the time to really understand that, and so.
But it's the same thing that I said, like what you had with like. You work with like the brain and all that, and you still have your own anxieties and stuff like that. The only reason I seek this stuff out is try to make my life a little bit better, and then I just apply this stuff to other people.
That's cool.
But this guy Jordan Peterson, I just listen to his stuff all the time. Cool. He's a very smart and interesting guy. But
I appreciate that. I think your students, clients, what do you call them?
I don't know. Clients is weird.
I know, right?
People.
Yeah,
members.
People.
I don't know. Somebody asked me that like a month or two ago. I was like, probably just members, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Boom, that's one.
All right, so I have like it's sort of personal / like.
This will be good, I guess.
Personal? I know, right. I hope it's okay.
What do you got?
You can press stop if it's not. So the recent death of your brother,
Yeah.
like how has that impacted your, I guess maybe like insight as to maybe how to motivate yourself, your members? How has that changed your approach, if at all? Is that okay to ask?
It is, yeah, totally
Okay.
okay, but I just don't know how to answer now.
Okay. Sorry if I caught you off guard, but I was always
No, you didn't.
really
That's probably
interested
good.
in it, yeah.
How did I use that? Well, I think it's pretty scary in the sense of like, I don't know. I just think that like, I think you can understand things better when you see like somebody scrounging through the couch looking for money to like whatever, having to take them. See, that's like another thing that people don't even know, like what families go through, or like what people go through in the sense of like driving somebody to a rehab center just because they wanted to get, you know, whatever drugs they were going to give them there. Like that was pretty much the only motivation. Or like you see somebody going through the couch, you're like, what are you doing? Nothing. You know, stuff like that where like they're so embarrassed and they feel so crappy about themselves that they just like lie.
Is that your only
they lie.
brother?
It was, yeah.
Wow.
So stuff like that. So like, I guess you could understand like, I don't know. I just think there's probably a little bit more empathy, empathize a little bit more, and I think it can happen to anybody. Like I think it's a slippery slope. Not that somebody would like go and start using heroin or something, but like somebody could, I don't know. There's a lot of different paths you could take, I guess. But using that, I don't know. So that's probably it, honestly. It had to affect me in some certain way. I probably didn't, I was just kind of talking about this. Like I probably totally didn't like probably just kind of put it somewhere in my brain and didn't really handle it too well, and probably still didn't to this day. But maybe that could be something to work on. But I don't know. Did I answer your question at all?
Yeah, you did.
All right.
Yeah. All right, so then your future.
Yeah.
Where's it going?
I don't know. This was probably asked before, so if this doesn't jive with what I said like 2 months ago, I don't know. I maybe want to do some things where, like, I definitely still want to be working with people, but maybe cut my hours back a little bit just to free up some time to do some other things that I might be interested in, whether it be like just leaving and going and doing something at like say another spot. Like, hey, there's an opportunity to run like a week-long something. Like just having the freedom to kind of do that and the flexibility to do that. Like, you know, I have some clients, some members, clients, whatever. They're coming in the morning. I'm in here in the afternoons. Like, it's not a lot of flexibility. I coach a kid, say, and he has a game. Like, I probably can't go just because I'm working in the evenings. So I'm trying to kind of switch that a little bit. But I don't know. Honestly, I'll probably just keep doing this for a while. And this guy said, like, his goal was to get down to, like, did you ever see that 4-Hour Work Week book?
No.
Somebody wrote this book, right? But anyway, he's like, obviously, I'm not trying to get to that. I just want to get to the 4-hour work day.
Yeah.
Like, so I try to want to get to that because I don't do the other stuff that I should be doing to, like, make this a better business because of time reasons. You know, it's like you just work with people and then you get to go home and you're just like, I'm going to be home for 4 hours.
I know. I do the same thing. And I'm like, all right, that's it. I work too hard to be doing what I'm doing, yet I still want to work with people, but I want to make it work better. Like, I know. Yeah, I know. But I like what I do, home. But I don't want to do. Yeah, I know. It's a lot of energy. Yeah, it is tough. So I was just talking to somebody else. Yeah, I guess, right? He was like, I won't say who it was, but another guy that does training was like, just had this like crazy panic attack coming home from vacation and was just like, what the hell am I doing? Like freaking out, like should I even be doing what I'm doing anymore? Because like, just so like crazy about having to come back to work and you know scheduling people and like making sure people are paid up and I didn't get back to this person, they might not come in and costing you money and you just spend all this kind of money on something. I don't know. So tough stuff. Yeah, and trying to save and like I don't know. That's the tricky part, I guess. No, future though I think would just try to make my life a little bit easier in any sense of the way. Try to like I don't know, not waste time, which I don't really do anymore, but then not whatever's stressing me out, eliminate it. Well,
I think so.
If I can help you in any way.
Cool.
Here I am.
All good?
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was cool.
I appreciate it.
I had fun,
Really nice catching up with you.
Yeah, I know. We might have to do it again sometime.
You're good peeps.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Thank you, too. So much.
You got anything else to throw in?
No, just a huge thank you. It's really refreshing talking to you. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
You had your working out in the heat mantra that I liked. Something about experiencing death before. Yeah.
Yes. You have to experience near death to be able to earn life.
Boom. It's over. See you guys. Bye.